Welcome back to another episode of PODCASTINATIng, our Forge podcast, and we are here with Connor England, who is an entrepreneur, small business owner, student, and he is also the chair of the Forge Business Development Pillar. How are you doing today, Connor?
Doing excellent. Thanks for having me, Rhett.
Yep, no problem. So you wear many different hats, obviously. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What have you been up to recently?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a young professional here in Topeka, love my hometown, and do wear quite a few different hats here in the community. In particular, I'd like to talk about three of the different capacities that I work with here in town. First one is a student. I'm a senior here at Washburn. Go Bods. I also am involved in the economic development space. We're doing what we can to help Topeka grow into everything that it can be. I'm also on leadership for a quickly growing startup here in town, Smart Save LLC.
And what do you guys do?
We help smart businesses save money. There are a lot of different opportunities kind of buried under the hood that accountants or engineers can't reach. We do the hard thing in order to help give businesses their absolute best shot at success.
I'm sure there's a lot of small businesses that need that type of help, huh?
Absolutely.
Yep. So we're here, we're kind of talking about the Wheatfield redevelopment project. What are your thoughts on that? Why is this important for young professionals? And can you give us a little bit of a background in case some people don't know about it?
Absolutely. So the Wheatfield development is a really a flex use space that's going to be over there on 29th and Fairlawn. There is a space that has been more or less blighted here for a couple of decades. There aren't really any businesses that are trucking there, especially after Herman's ended up uprooting. And ultimately, we see it as an opportunity. You've got a lot of space over there that can be turned into a lot of things. In particular, entertainment and quality of life are a very important focus. And so some of the offerings which Mr. Klossman, lead on that development over there, is incorporating. You've got like a dine-in, drink-in theater similar to like an Alamo Draft House, if you've been to one of those.
Yeah, those are really cool.
Spin pizza, PTs. So a lot of opportunity over there to make sure that Topekans have that nightlife and entertainment space here in town. Awesome.
So why is that important for young professionals? Why should they get behind something like this?
I'm glad you asked that. And because of that, I'd like to go ahead and talk about the perspectives that I bring to the table. So as you mentioned, not only am I a student who is constantly on the lookout for neat things to do with friends and peers, but I'm also the chairperson of the business development pillar here at Forge. And because of that, I'm in constant contact with young professionals who chose Topeka as their home. Now, most of us, we enjoy our jobs, we love our organizations, but you know, if you're anything like me, you're not defined by the job you do. And for many, it's your life away from work. We're going to find most of that meaning. So you go home for the day, and what we see is a lot of people are leaving town in search for entertainment due to a perceived lack of things to do in Topeka. Forge is hard at work creating entertaining programming that's going to attract and retain talent. We need that. That said, we regularly see that whenever our calendar isn't filled, a lot of Topekans are skipping town. They go straight to what I'm going to refer to as an anchor point. So anchor points are...
Yeah, what is that? Kind of explain that a little bit.
Absolutely. So, and I had a chance to speak with City Council here on this here a little while ago. And if possible, come out on November 14th to be part of the development conversation at City Council for Wheatfield. But anchor points are physical places with a name recognition, strong positive connotations. These become magnetic social hubs for a community and the areas around it. Now, they're valuable because when a person thinks of going out to do something, they can simply pick an anchor point and know for certain they're going to have a good time with the options available. So without these anchor points towards which we can go to, like Mass Street in Lawrence, Power and Light District in Kansas City, or Pearl Street in Boulder, Colorado, Topekans are always going to answer the question, what should I go do tonight or this weekend, with I'll leave town and go to here. So, quality of life is a principal concern for our young pros. We're hearing that every single day. And in our experience, it's not something that we can schedule. Forge is doing everything it can to make sure that your calendar is filled with wonderful programming. But, quality of life has to be built, not scheduled.
Yeah.
This is the chief reason for this Wheatfield development. We're looking and think that realistically this could be one of those anchor points. It's been described by surrounding communities. We've got professional developers out in Kansas City and beyond, which are saying that this is head and shoulders above anything else in the region. And Forge believes that having options like this gives us a place where we can go to and be so proud of that we can convince friends and loved ones from other towns to travel to us, to Topeka. And that's powerful.
Yeah. So not only is it a tourism thing, but it could also be help attract and retain young talent, just like what Forge is about.
Most definitely.
That's awesome.
So, and to that point, attraction and retention, I want to touch briefly on my second hat. So, as an officer of a fast-growing company in town, Smart Save LLC, we went from concept to profitably operating in several states over the course of a year. When it was just a concept, we won a world championship with it out at Washburn. We were very, very proud of that. Yeah, thank you. But we're on track to be nationwide here in the next 5 years. And what that means is that before here too long, we're going to be looking to hire. The team believes in Topeka. It's very much home for us. We wouldn't be anywhere else. But as much as I love and believe in my hometown, I'll be 100% honest. Past 2 months, I've spent a couple of weekends up in Kansas City watching movies at the Alamo Drafthouse. We're sitting here talking. It's a great place. It's a dine-in theater with a kitchen and bar, much like the one in the Wheatfield proposal. I want you to really think about that, though. If a leader in a company drives to another state to satisfy my quality of life concerns, why would we ever expect our employees to stay here? If Topeka's truly going to get better, we have to lead by example and actively build the changes we wish to see.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point.
So, I commend Jim Klossman and Butch Eaton for trying to do this. I've met with Jim here a couple of times, and we've talked at length about it. His heart's really in it. I'm certain that if we had similar offerings here in town, I'd almost never leave. Not only that, but it'd be much easier for me to recruit talent from other towns when I have something like Wheatfield to bring them to. We're always going to give priority here, but we've got a company to grow because that spills over and makes Topeka better. So as we grow, so does Topeka's economic base, making the return on investment for a development like this just clear as day. We fully believe that projects like this are the catalyst for economic prosperity we're hoping to see. And while you'll see this if you come out to the city council. Dr. Paul Byrne, a great advisor of mine over there in the economic department, he put out a piece in the Capital Journal which talks about how this specific development package, something known as tax increment financing, maybe it's not the most efficient, but to counter that, I would bet every dime that I have that the incentives used to help build Pearl Street, Power and Light, Mass Street, probably not the best either, but they created an anchor point, a place their town could be proud of that outsiders would crave, and we do. And just in a matter of years after completion, those projects made all the difference for their communities. So young pros, companies like ours, we're looking towards the decision with sharp eyes, and we're hoping that Topeka makes the right choice on it.
So not only will making this or developing this area help and attract, retain young talent, but it'll help retain businesses and attract businesses as well, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Domino effect.
Yeah, that's huge right there. So before the podcast, we were talking a little bit about positivity. Well, before that, was there anything else you wanted to add? Anything else young professionals need to know?
Honestly, there's quite a bit of literature out there. The Capital Journal and various media outlets have done a wonderful job at kind of sharing both sides about it. So just do a quick Google search, show up there on the 14th, speak with us out here at Forge. We'd be more than happy to talk about what we know and why we think it would be good for Topeka, but just spread the word. The more people are interested in this, the more likely it is that it will happen.
Awesome. So yeah, we will share those links in the description, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any Forge member, and any of us will point you in the right direction. So positivity. I think positivity is key in all this, hometown pride, all that type of stuff. So let's get into that.
Yeah. So another Forge member and a moving voice here in town, Pedro Concepcion, I love looking on his social media because he always has these hashtags, top city, love where you live, Topeka pride, and those are
awesome with that.
Yeah, powerful messages, and he really is one of those that loves where he lives. But I've ran into it time and time again. You ask people what they think about Topeka, or really just their hometown in general, and a lot of times you hear the same thing over and over again. It's like, man, my hometown sucks. I can't wait to get out, or I'm going to go over here. And We see it every single day. You have those friends from high school or wherever, and they go somewhere else, and go figure, their problems end up following them with them. It's not just Topeka. And from anybody who, my original hometown, Portales, New Mexico, about 4,000 people. So Topeka looks like a thriving metropolis, and in many ways it is. But those that are so used to negative speech, a lot of times you'll see that they think that being positive is just this fluffy deal. And I really want to counter that. So in particular, one of my favorite academics, her name is Dr. Barbara Fredrickson. She is one of the leading psychologists out at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And she's a positivity psychologist. Most of her studies, and she's got TED Talks. I've posted some of them up on my Facebook page, so feel free to go over there and take a look. But she has really done a number of experiments that prove that positivity is anything but fluffy. In fact, from an evolutionary biology point of view, it's incredibly important. So I want to talk to our listeners about one study in particular that she did. So Barbara brought in some 30 to 50 people, and what she did was she sat them in front of a video that played for about 30 seconds, and the point of these videos was to elicit different emotions. She had 3 different groups. One group was positive emotions, so she was trying to elicit one of 2 feelings, which was either contentment or joy. Okay. She had a control group, and where you were just like playing something, pictures of ladders or traffic, just really neutral emotions. And then she had a test group which would elicit 2 different negative emotions, fear or anger. And then, as soon as all of her test subjects came out, she put a piece of paper in front of them. And on that piece of paper, it said, in a similar situation, I would have liked to have done blank. And that same sentence was iterated over and over and over again 25 times. And here's what she found. For the neutral groups, she typically saw that there were about 3 to 5 answers, and that makes sense. If you're just thinking about any random situation that you're in, you probably can think of 3 to 5 different ways. Oh, I might do this, or I could do this. It just depends. Right. And we've all felt that. When you look at the negative one, time and time again, almost every single subject that she had in this was one answer, maybe 2, but typically one answer. And then you go over to the positive groups, and almost categorically across the board, they were able to fill the page. If not all the way, pretty close. Sometimes they flipped over, and that's not fluffy.
So it was really just getting the juices going.
Yeah, positive emotions. Your emotions really do dictate how you think about the world. Now think about this. Back way in the day, when you're out in the middle of a field and a saber-toothed tiger comes up, it doesn't matter if you've got some weapon over here, if you've got a tree to your left that you can climb up of. When you see that tiger, what's your one response?
Fear, run.
Book it,
go.
Run, absolutely. That's the one response you put down on Barbara's piece of paper. And that's fine from an evolutionary standpoint, but think about this. We live in a modern world where a lot of the problems that we face have these same emotional connotations from back then. But when your brain decides how many different ways it approaches it because of the emotion that's there, when you deal with a problem as sophisticated as, well, where am I going to live? When you've got a negative emotion towards Topeka or your small town or whatever, what's the one answer?
Not Topeka.
Yeah, I'm going to leave.
Yep.
And that's it. And I'm going to challenge people on this idea that Topeka is so bad or that it sucks or whatever hometown or space that you're in. It really is just a matter of how you frame that discussion. So I sit here and I look at things, and I've been to Lawrence, a wonderful town. I go to South Park. They're down on the end of 12th and Mass, and I sit there and I think, if I could go to South Park, or if I could go to Gage, or if I could go to Lake Shawnee, like every single time, I'm staying in Topeka.
Right.
It's absolutely wonderful, and we should be proud of what we have there. And when you look at the way that we approach the town, so when you think positively about things, just like Jim Klossman, Butch Eaton, Cody Foster, a lot of the developers and movers and shakers here in town, they see a problem, for sure. But when you approach it with a positive mindset, all of a sudden we look at a space like the Wheatfield development and we think, what could it be? Yeah. What different pieces could we put here which would make our lives better? And that comes from a positive mindset.
Yeah, they're not moping about the problem. They're looking to solve the problem. They're looking for solutions.
Absolutely.
I love that.
So, we really do need to chase these positive emotions and champion them every single place we can. What I think happened is, when a lot of us have gone through this experience, it's timeless, right? Where when we're 4 or 5 years old and you're learning math for the first time, a little bit of arithmetic, addition, subtraction, like it's this harmless thing. It's actually a little bit of fun and it's useful. All of a sudden you can look at the world in a new way. And then, 3 or 5 years go by. You're in 2nd or 4th grade and you've reached the math session and a couple of people drop off. They're like, this is terrible. And it's not like it really got that much harder than any of the other subjects. It's just that all of a sudden, less people liked it. And then by the time you're at the end of high school, you're like weird, right? If you're in calculus, you have to have a locker way down here, and like you don't want people to look at you because it's embarrassing. It wasn't that it ever got harder. It's that so many people bought into this idea that math was a negative thing. It wasn't sexy, it wasn't fun, it wasn't useful, and nothing changed about the subject except for the perceptions about it. So what I think happened in Topeka and a number of places is that so many people bought into this idea that it's just a negative thing. Topeka sucks. And then enough of your friends start saying it that it rolls under your tongue. And every single time I talk to somebody about Shawnee Lake versus South Park or about the different things, which we really do have a vibrant entertainment space here in Topeka and we're continuing to grow. And when you frame it that way, you see this light bulb turn on and all of a sudden they're like, that's pretty great. We've got one of the strongest D2 universities in the entire nation. We continue to raise the bar as to what it is that's possible to be in Ichabod. We've got all these developments which are going on. We've got places which are crushing glass doors, some of the best places in the United States to work, and the energy here is absolutely incredible.
Oh, man.
Kennedy and I, if we have one choice to place our company, it's going to be here in Topeka. And we commend everybody that's being part of this change. Wheatfield is just the beginning. It's a very important development. And we want for you to look and see what it can be, how you can be a part of it. The more interest that we have here and the more people that stay here in Topeka, the better it does, the better we do. So that's why I'm interested. I wear these different hats, but every single one that I wear when I look at something like this, the answer is yes, absolutely. This can be great for us. And so I encourage everyone who's listening, share this podcast, reach out to your friends, ask them what they think about it. And if there's something that doesn't quite jive, let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk.
Because it's not terminal. It's a problem to be solved. That's how the developers are looking at it. That's how leadership's looking at it. And we want for every single Topekan to be looking at the issues that we face, because there are some, we can always do better. But when you approach problems like this in such a fashion, what you can do, the sky is truly the limit. That's how you forge ahead.
Yeah. So what would be some advice you would give to Forge members on how to change their lives to be more positive and how to try to get that pride back in Topeka and the rest of the Topekans?
Absolutely. So one of the first things that I would say is that language shapes your worldview. We've ran into it 100 times. We've all got that friends that every single time you ask them, hey, how's your day going? And they're like, oh man, it's terrible. I'm so overworked.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah. All of a sudden, everything that you think, even if it's not true, because the person said that, it's more likely that their brain is going to make it true. Whenever you hear somebody talk negatively about Topeka, shut it down. Think of the 3 things that you like the most about it, just so you can, get all of that negative energy out there, and then try and, just like you said, combat it. That alone is enough to help us change the narrative and creates more opportunity for Topekans. But really just get more involved. We've got incredible things that are happening here, but the only way that they happen, a development is not a non-for-profit. They are only going to be as successful as the number of people here that will patron those businesses. And so if you want Topeka to grow, maybe we should check ourselves. I sat here and talked about how I'm out at the Alamo, and it was acknowledging that. and I haven't been since. And it's not that I don't like the services there, it's that there are enough things here in Topeka which our dollars and our time can be spent towards, and the more that we do that, the more, conversely, the more opportunities we'll have. Sit here and look for the best that our town has to offer and be a part of it. I was sitting there looking through a BuzzFeed article, best grilled cheese in every state, and John Bolander out at the Wheelbarrow. He's constantly
man,
booked.
those are great.
First Friday is going to be here tomorrow. I encourage you to go out to the Nono district, but good luck if you're going to be able to find a seat there, because it really is. And it's more than just like your traditional grilled cheese, but I had this one dish that was How Now Blue Cow, and I swear it's a grilled cheese at heart, but it was legitimately one of the best meals I've had in the region.
All of their stuff is good. They got so much good food down there.
Yeah, and we've got national publications which are like, look, you can go one place, it's here.
Yep.
That's Topeka.
Yep.
Hashtag Topeka proud, man.
Yeah, heck yeah.
So just look for the good in the situation that you have. You can sit there and you can look at these anchor points. Other people roll the dice and build these great places. And it's not to say that Mass Street, Pearl Street, Power and Light, that those aren't fantastic. But I want you to look at that and recognize that that means that we can do this too.
Yeah.
We've known this for a long time. Grass tends to be the greenest where you water it.
Yep.
So what is it that we can do to help Topeka move ahead? Stay here, share the good, and it's a lot more likely that there will be more there to share.
Yep. So the more we buy into Topeka, the more everybody else will buy into Topeka.
Absolutely.
So it's just cyclical.
You bet.
Awesome. Well, Connor, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think that's all for now. I would love to see as many young professionals as possible out there at the City Council meeting here November 14th. It's out at TPAC. If you need directions or a little bit more information, feel free to reach out to anyone at the Greater Topeka Partnership or here at Forge. Gabriel O'Shea, our executive director, has been fielding all sorts of questions, has been very involved. Just speak up, figure out, because you can be a part of this, and the more people we have on board, the better we'll do.
Yep, so true. Well, Connor, what are your social medias?
So you can reach me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Connor Britton, and on LinkedIn and Facebook at Connor England.
Awesome.
Love to get a conversation started. Let's change Topeka.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today, Connor.
You bet. Thanks for having me.